episode of the Go Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Neander. So, crazy week 6, man. And by crazy, I mean fugly. That was not good. I've never seen so many under 100 point scores, I don't think, in my life in fantasy football. I look over across my leagues and there were tons of guys in the 80s and 90s. I had one league where I just barely scrapped over 100 points. It was pretty bad. Another one where it was looking bad for a while there, and then Kenyon Drake, kind of put it together, got that last, kind of garbage time, long run at the end there, and hey, listen, all Kenyon Drake owners will take it at this point. Even if it was too little too late for you for the week, you're just happy to see him go off a little bit. But hey, that's how it is in the NFL, man. Week 6 is come and gone. Hey, I think we're looking all right. The COVID thing is starting to subside a little bit. We've had a couple of positive tests over the last week, but really they're just marching forward here. And I don't think that we're going to be missing a lot of games at this point. I think the players and coaches realize now how serious it is, and I think we're going to be able to bang these games out, man. We're 6 games in. Season's trucking right along here, getting towards the holidays here. We got Halloween coming up. I love me some Halloween. But, yeah, man. All right, so we got some football. You know the deal here. Early in the week, we're going to go through every game, give you our quick reactions on the players and who played well, who didn't, who helped your team, who didn't, talk about any injuries that might have happened, and just give you the overall, analysis of every game from week 6 here. It's pretty easy. We try to keep it simple, stupid here, go with the KISS method, and, yeah, man. So, all right, we're going to start with the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans. So, man, this game went to overtime. This was a fun game. Good one to start with lots of points here. So, unfortunately for the Texans, they moved to 1-5. They lose this game in overtime, 42-36. So as you can imagine, obviously, there are plenty of points here. You got 2 of the top quarterbacks on the week in this game. Deshaun Watson wound up as the number 1 quarterback in most scoring formats. We have Ryan Tannehill at number 3. Both threw for well over 300 yards with 4 touchdowns. Tannehill threw 1 pick. Let's start with the Texans here, though. So as I mentioned, Deshaun Watson, number 1 on the week. I said he was going to have a big week. I liked playing all of his weapons on the outside here, and they all came through. So Watson's looking much better now. He's really unleashing the beast, as it were, these last couple of games without Bill O'Brien. And hey, who knows whether it's just, play calling from Romeo Crennel, a different atmosphere, a different vibe, who knows. But things are working right now, so it's looking good. David Johnson, another okay game, not very efficient, but that's not his game right now. 19 carries, 57 yards, got into the end zone, caught 1 pass on 2 targets. But, listen, it was a pretty rough week for scoring, right? I mentioned that, we know that. And so it wasn't a great week for David Johnson, but lo and behold, running back 13 on the week in PPR format. So almost a running back 1 with that performance. That's what it is. You got to be okay with that, right? He was fine for you. He was a half a point away from being a running back 1. So David Johnson continues to be usable because of, the possibility of scoring at any game, because, Watson likes to air it out deep. You can always get the ball, deep into the red zone, on the goal line, even with some of these pass interference calls maybe, and get into the end zone here. So David Johnson continues to be in that running back 2, flex, spot. Outside here, all right, so we had Will Fuller leading the way, 11 targets, caught 6 of them, 123 yards and a touchdown, another monster game for Will Fuller. It's the same deal right now. Fuller's healthy. As long as he's healthy, you're going to play him. So if that's all season, that's all season. There was the one, I think, donut game in there that really hurt. I get it. Nobody ever wants that to happen, but at the same time, he's rocking out for you basically every week. All right, so Brandon Cooks also had a nice big game here for you. Brandon Cooks, 9 targets, caught all 9 of his targets, 68 yards and a touchdown. Another big game in a row. So, if Watson's going to be airing the ball out a lot and the defense is not playing all that well, which they're not, you can expect, that two wide receivers can be sustained in this offense. It's just, if they will be every week, you don't know. Outside of that, Randall Cobb did catch a touchdown, but Only had 3 catches for 17 yards. He doesn't get to the end zone there. Not much going. And then Darren Fells, I mentioned this. Without Jordan Akins, Fells was going to be a decent play. I didn't think it was going to be this good. 6 catches on 7 targets, 85 yards and a touchdown. Hey, if Akins is out next week and you're running, Dalton Schultz out there, or your, tight end is ugly right now. So, Darren Fells can very well be played whether or not Jordan Akins is in. But if Akins is out, we're going to be talking about him as a definite starter next week. All right, let's talk about Tennessee quickly. As I mentioned, Tannehill, another big game. You just can't doubt him anymore. He had 41 attempts, 30 completions, 364, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. And that's the thing. Whether he throws the ball 23 or 24 times or 40 times, he seems to get the job done in this offense here. So Tannehill, I mentioned him as, probably the top streamer, although it's unfair to really call him a streamer. I don't know how many leagues he would have been available in, but I think that definitely panned out. And I had mentioned, I think, Kirk Cousins as the next one behind him, and that absolutely worked out for you as well. So a couple good calls there on the quarterbacks. Now, Derrick Henry continues to bowl everybody the fuck over. 22 carries, 212 yards, a couple of touchdowns, including a 94-yard touchdown run, where a guy who is close to the same weight as me and obviously a much different level of conditioning and athlete can run 21 and a half miles an hour for 94 yards. It's fucking crazy. No one wants to get in his way. I don't blame him. I wouldn't either. There we saw what happened to Josh Norman. Nobody wants that shit there to be on a highlight reel forever. And they all just got out of his way. So even without that run, it was a great game for Henry. He continues to just fuck everybody up. He also had 5 targets. I mean, he only caught 2 of them, but 52 yards. That also helps. He was the number 1 running back on the week. Congrats, Derrick Henry. All right, so on the outside here, obviously there were some points. There was all these yards and 4 touchdowns. The big surprise here, all right, let's just go through it here. So A.J. Brown was the top targeted wide receiver. 7 targets, caught 5 for 56, and 2 touchdowns. So 2 trips to pay dirt. Makes it a very big week for A.J. Brown owners. The number 4 wide receiver on the week in PPR formats. And then we had Adam Humphries. So Corey Davis continues to be out. Adam Humphries caught all 6 of his targets, 64 yards and a touchdown. So big game for Humphries. I don't know if you can trust that if Davis comes back. But hey, if you played him and you saw the tea leaves there, good for you, man. I didn't have him up anywhere. But the big surprise here, as I was going to mention, was Anthony Firkser. Jonnu Smith got knocked out early with an ankle. Doesn't look that bad, but we'll have to hear. I haven't heard anything about it yet. Only had 2 targets, caught 1 for 13 before he got knocked out. And then Anthony Firkser takes over as the tight end of choice and proceeds to catch 8 of 9 targets for 113 yards and a touchdown. And a pretty good week for Mr. Firkser. Good enough for the number 1 spot on the week. So very nice, Mr. Firkser. I like it. Number 1 on the week there, I think. I don't know, formats are always weird. It's PPR though, right? 8, 19.3, and 6, 25.3. Yeah, all right, I can still add. Very good, very good. But yeah, Firkser, I mean, yeah, if you're going to tell me Jonnu Smith is absolutely out next week, he's certainly worth a stream. All depends on who you have. But obviously the tight end is a big part of what Tannehill wants to do. And he's very successful throwing the tight ends. I mean, part of that is how good Jonnu Smith is. But obviously we see here a propensity for him to throw to the tight end and to have success doing it. So, yeah, we'll talk about that later in the week. But great game for Anthony Firkser out of nowhere. And good for you, man. Tennessee, put up the points. If you're playing your Titans, you're getting fed, baby. You're getting what you need. All right, let's move on here. Let's go to Indianapolis. Cincinnati Bengals travel to Indianapolis, take on the Colts, and put up a really good game. You know, they started out hot, and then Indianapolis was able to come back and complete the comeback and win 31-27 in a game, that Cincinnati really let slip away. Unfortunately, they dropped to 1-4-1, 4-2 for the Colts. So in a nice position, even though I don't think they're playing all that well, but hey, is what it is. Now, Joe Burrow, decent comeback from the really, really tough game last week with Baltimore. 313 yards, but could not get the ball in the end zone in the air. He did throw an interception. He did run for a touchdown. So, there is that. But he had a good game. It continues to be kind of matchup dependent. These games, these are tough matchups, right? I mean, he played Baltimore and Indianapolis, two of the better defenses out there. So, moving forward, I think, there might be a little more playability for Joe Burrow. Let's take a quick look at his next few games here. I think he plays Cleveland, which I'm okay playing him in that matchup. And then Tennessee, then a bye week in Pittsburgh. But then it opens up Washington Giants, Miami. Ooh, that's a nice little stretch there leading up to the fantasy playoffs. Might be someone to keep an eye on as a streamer as we move towards the fantasy playoffs. Joe Mixon did leave the game with an injury. We don't really have any word yet about it. It looks like he may or may not miss a week or two. I don't think it's going to be serious either way. But we don't know anything about Mixon yet. It's a foot injury. That's all I got for you. He did get to the end zone. He had 18 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown before he left the game. He also caught 2 balls, 15 yards on 3 targets. So, at least you got some points out of Mixon before he left the game there, and hopefully he comes back in. He was a running back 1. He was the running back 11 on the week, so you're okay with that. Now, Gio Bernard, obviously, for any amount of time that Mixon would be out, Bernard would be a nice little pickup. He's going to get some work. He got into the end zone this week, caught a few passes, and he'll definitely be a great spot play for the next week or two, however long it is. You don't want to spend that much fab on him unless you're desperate. But, he's going to be involved. He's going to be heavily involved. He's going to catch balls. And he's going to be the guy getting to work while Mixon's gone. So hopefully Mixon's okay. If he's not, and you're like me in a couple of weeks where you're running back starved due to different circumstances, then you might look at Gio for the next week or two. All right, on the outside here, A.J. Green, welcome back to the offense. Led the team with 11 targets, 8 receptions, 96 yards. We know there were no touchdowns through the air, so nobody got in there, though. But 11 targets, 8 for 96. It's good to see him back. Here there was enough to go around. There was also 8 targets apiece for Boyd and Higgins, so you like to see everyone getting fed. He looked a lot better this week, and maybe he needed to get back in game shape a little bit. That's very possible. I'm not sure if I'm ready to play him at all, but, he definitely could be rostered. The issue here is that T. Higgins continues to just look better than everyone. 8 targets, as I mentioned, caught 6 for 125, including a beautiful 67-yard reception. He just looks, phenomenal. And that's kind of the problem, is that you want to throw him the ball a lot. Nothing wrong with, A.J. Green. If he's looking better, that's great and all. But, I want to throw the ball to T. Higgins. And if you're watching the games, Higgins is just an absolute beast, man. He's just awesome. So, yeah, and then I mentioned Tyler Boyd also had the 8 targets, caught 5 for 54. Okay game. Didn't hurt you, didn't help you. How much A.J. Green was involved, definitely pulled back from Boyd's potential in this game. But, you're happy to see 8 targets, and you want to see this offense playing well and against a pretty good defense here. I think there was optimistic, things. There were good things to take out of this. Optimistic things. Not speaking fucking English here, am I? All right. Let's go over to Indy real quick. Phillip Rivers, really nice game. I didn't think he was going to be a very good streaming option. Hasn't been playing great, but threw for 371. 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. He was the quarterback 8 on the week. And, it just goes to show you that 371 and 3, that he can't, move up because there's really no rushing work, right? So without any kind of rushing upside, it's hard for him to elevate there. Yeah, this scoring is weird. I don't know, fantasy person. They're not taking points off for interceptions at all? Because how does Kirk Cousins have more points than Phillip Rivers? I don't know. Phillip Rivers was top 10 either way. 8, 7, one of those fucking ones. All right. 3 touchdowns, a pick. Jonathan Taylor, 12 carries, 60 yards. Continues to be, rather ho-hum on the ground. He did catch all 4 of his targets for 55 yards. Kind of saved his game there. So even though he only got in the end zone. Did he get in the end zone? No. Did not get into the end zone on the day. He was still a running back 8 on the back of all those receptions. 15.5 PPR points. Made you the number 8 running back this week. So kind of, again, it wasn't a very high scoring week for a lot of skill players around the league. It was kind of weird. Let's look to the outside here. So, Let's see. Marcus Johnson. I don't know if he's going to be on the waiver show, but he had 8 targets, caught 5 for 108, kind of out of nowhere. Zach Pascal caught 4 of 7 targets, 54 yards, and a touchdown, so he got into the end zone. And then both tight ends that are active right now got into the end zone. Trey Burton caught 4 or 5 passes, 58 yards, and a touchdown. He also ran in a touchdown. So he got into the end zone twice for Trey Burton, the number 3 tight end on the week-ish, right around there with Kelsey. But had a really good week, and this is 2 weeks in a row that Trey Burton's been pretty involved, and he's absolutely going to be, kind of on the radar. You worry about, Doyle being out there so much, and if Mo Alley Cox comes back soon. But at the end of the day, if they're kind of running the offense through running backs and tight ends here, yeah, he definitely very well may be playable. So we'll keep an eye on that with Trey Burton. But the Indianapolis Colts put up a lot of points in a good matchup at home against the Bengals. And I don't know how much of that is, fact or fiction, quite honestly. But we'll have to look at the Colts here going into next week. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Keep recapping. The Falcons go on the road to Minnesota, beat the shit out of the Vikings. Really started fast and just kind of put the screws to them. Didn't really let up here. Great game for Matt Ryan. He was, I think the number 2 quarterback maybe, on the week, something like that. Threw for, 371 and 4 touchdowns. No interceptions. You love to see that. And, listen, you're going to hear about it all week when you hear about Atlanta, right? Julio Jones was back. Julio Jones looked great. Caught a couple of touchdowns. Had a great week. And all of a sudden, everybody looked better. It's not just like, when Julio's in, they force feed him the ball and everybody else, hides. No. When Julio's in, the entire offense is better. They move the ball better. They sustain drives better. They make openings for everybody else. And Julio, it really doesn't matter what kind of attention he gets. He just gets open, pretty much every play. That's just what he does. Great game for Matt Ryan. Todd Gurley struggled today. Ran the ball 20 times for 47 yards. Now, obviously, pretty ugly, 2.4 yards a carry, but Brian Hill ran the ball 10 times for 28 yards, 2.8. So, Minnesota was playing really strong against the rush today. Todd Gurley did catch 3 or 4 targets for 20 yards. Now, again, it kind of speaks to how ugly of a week it was for skill players. But, you still had Todd Gurley as a RB2. His 9.7 points kept him in the RB2 range this week. So, you didn't, lose, is my point, by playing him, right? I mean, I know the points weren't there, but just compared to the other running backs, it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. There were 4 running backs, that really scored a lot of points, then another little batch, and then a lot of crap. So, you love to see the work for Gurley. You want to see the 20 carries, you're happy. As I mentioned, Julio Jones, 10 targets, 8 catches, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Man, you want to see him get in the end zone twice. That's a beautiful thing. That's always been the problem with Julio. Not a problem, just the only drawback, right? He hardly scores a lot of touchdowns most years. He doesn't score a lot of touchdowns most years, and he's still top 3, top 4 receiver. If he was a 10 touchdown guy, he'd be number 1 receiver almost every year, right? So I know that second one was a little bit crazy where, Ryan was running towards the line of scrimmage, and then kind of, did a stop and stutter step and a little fadeaway lob pass over the top to Julio. But either way, it was a really nice play. Loved it. Calvin Ridley, another big game, 7 targets, caught 6 for 61 and a touchdown. Continues to be really solid whether or not Julio has a good game. Ridley still performs, still gave you a really nice game there. Russell Gage got back on the board here, caught all 4 of his targets for 65 yards. So if you had to play him, you got enough points. You were all right with that. Hayden Hurst, listen, it's got it was a little bit skewed here. He caught all 4 of his targets, 57 yards and a touchdown. But that last touchdown was kind of garbage time. It was like nobody was around. I mean, I get it. It was a nice design play, and it looked good and it worked. So if you played Hayden Hurst, hey, you were really happy. You were laughing all the way to the fucking end zone along with him as he's trotting down the sideline there, nobody around. Good stuff. Kirk Cousins Well, I mean, he got it together after a terrible first half. 343 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. So yeah, started off ugly. I mentioned that outside of Tannehill, he was probably my favorite start of the week. And listen, he wound up as the number 7-ish quarterback on the week. So if Tannehill was available, then he was the best streamer at number 3. Kirk Cousins was probably the third best because Carson Wentz wound up as the number 4 quarterback on the week. Didn't see that coming, and especially against Baltimore. But he had a really good week, put it together with 3 touchdowns. So there you go. He beat out Kirk Cousins. Either way, I'm taking the W here with Kirk Cousins and saying that it's a great pick. It was. He scored 27 points, whatever, and you were very happy if you played Kirk Cousins. So cheers. Alexander Madison, man, didn't do it. We kind of mentioned that was a possibility. It happens a little bit sometimes. The running back that, all of a sudden gets the opportunity, the smash play, just doesn't happen. It didn't happen with Madison. Had 10 carries for 26 yards. They only had 13 total rushes. Atlanta came out scoring fast. Minnesota couldn't get the ball moving here. Kirk Cousins was turning the ball over, and they just had to abandon the run really early, so it just never really came back. And then the receiving work wasn't there. All you're hoping for with that negative game script for your running back is that in the second half they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, and you might get some of those dump ball passes, but it didn't happen either. Madison caught 1 of 2 targets for 4 yards in a brutally bad day for Alexander Madison, and all the people that were rejoicing for the one chance to go ahead and play him and get all those points. Just didn't happen, man. Just didn't happen. So you weren't happy about Madison. You're just hoping Cook comes back. If you're the Cook owner, you're just ready for that. So, all right, let's go out here to the wide receivers, man. Justin freaking Jefferson, number 1 wide receiver on the week. Another monster game for Justin Jefferson. 9 catches on 11 targets, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, and almost 40 PPR fantasy points. So we have the number 1 and the number 2 receivers in fantasy in this game here. Jefferson number 1, and of course Julio number 2. So great game for fantasy here. Justin Jefferson continues to be a monster. He just looks amazing. Dude is ready for prime time. Adam Thielen, had 5 targets, caught 3 of them for 51 yards. He did get into the end zone, so another good game for Thielen. You were fine with that. The touchdown made it all good. You're fine with it, right? Where is he? Thielen, number 25, 14 points. All right. Hey, just about wide receiver 2 for kind of a quiet game. You're okay with that. Now, we're seeing the tight ends get a lot more involved here in this offense. So we had mentioned Irv Smith last week. I had mentioned him a number of times in the preseason, a number of times through the first 3 weeks. Now he's finally getting involved, caught 4 of his 5 targets for 55 yards. And again, for tight ends right now, that's not a bad game. You're happy with that. He's a tight end 1. He's the number 11 tight end on the week. Kyle Rudolph also had 4 targets, caught 3 for 47 yards. So just cut into Irv Smith's work just a little bit there, which is always a possibility. But Irv Smith's looking a lot better, and he has to be on your radar as someone that you can play as a tight end, depending on your tight end situation. But lots of points here. Nice game. Hit the over, and you got what you needed here. All right. Let's keep her rolling. Okay, so Denver Broncos and New England Patriots. Another brutally bad game for fantasy owners here. Kind of all around. Just nothing worked out. I can't imagine many people played Drew Lock. It would have been a bad idea. Buck 89, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You would have had a bad week had you played Drew Lock. Would have been as bad as playing Aaron Rodgers? I'm not even sure. Because Rodgers was that bad. All right, they were about even. Yeah, both about even. Under 200 yards, 2 interceptions. Fucking brutal. Man, yeah, just a few points for Drew Lock. So, Philip Lindsay carried the ball 23 times in Melvin Gordon's absence, 101 yards on the ground, but was not involved in the passing game at all. Didn't have any targets or catches, didn't pass go, didn't collect $200. So, 10 points is what he wound up with because there's no touchdowns, and there's no receiving work. So, unfortunately, while it was a great game on the ground, it just wasn't a great game for fantasy because you need the other stuff to come through. 10 points doesn't really do it. He was a running back 2. So again, hard to complain in a week like this, but you would like to see more. Royce Freeman, carried the ball 8 times. You knew he'd be involved a little bit, 26 yards. He also caught his only target, but was not playable, and that's fine. All right, let's go to the outside here. Tim Patrick, still the number one, and by a long shot here. 8 targets, caught 4 for 101. Was a fine game for Tim Patrick, and he just continues to be the number one. You kind of, I want to think it's Judy in my mind, like it's about to be Judy. It's Tim Patrick, man. That's just what it is. Judy did have 5 targets, caught 2 for 32 yards. It just doesn't really look fantastic. I know it's a tough team, it's a tough matchup for a Rook, but yeah. All right, Albert O. I'm not even going to try it. Albert O. 6 targets, caught 2 for 45. I can't imagine, many people played him in Noah Fant's absence, even knowing Fant's role in the offense here. But Albert O looked all right. He almost had a touchdown. It would have been a really good game for him if he had that touchdown. He would have been, climbing up the tight end boards, as it were. He probably would have been in the 15-point range, right? He would have been like tight end 8, something like that. So, either way, if, woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't happen. But Albert O is, not someone to keep an eye on, I guess. All right. Cam Newton, 157 yards through the air. No touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He did run for 76 yards and a touchdown. The saving grace for Cam Newton's week was the rushing work. So at least you got that. Definitely helped you out. And he was a quarterback 1. He was a number 11 quarterback on the week on the back of that rushing work. Got himself to 20 points. Really, he didn't, though. Again, I don't think they're counting interceptions here. But either way, that's all right. He was still okay, and he probably wasn't number 11. He was probably number 12 here if I'm looking at it. But, yeah. All right. But he ran the ball a lot again, and that's what you want to see. At least the points will be there. Hopefully they get this offense going a little bit better. Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniel really got to figure out what the sweet spot is for Cam Newton in this offense here. I think he caught a ball too. Yeah, he caught a ball for 16 yards. That's nice. I like it. Damian Harris, the running back situation here was still pretty bad. I mean, James White was good because of the receiving work, which happens with him. But Damian Harris ran the ball 6 times for 19 yards and caught 1 pass for 14. So miserable game for Damian Harris. If you played him, sorry about that. James White, as we mentioned, ran the ball 4 times for 8 yards, but caught 8 of 9 targets for 65 yards. And on the back of all that receiving work, James White jumped himself up to running back 10 on the week with 15.3 PPR points, actually tied for 9th with James Robinson, so whose touchdown also saved his day. All right, so let's look outside here. Obviously not a lot going on. There was only 157 yards passing for Cam, and 65 of it went to James White. So we had Damiere Byrd on the outside catching 3 of 4 targets for 38 yards. We had, tight end Ryan Izzo catching all 3 of his targets for 38 yards. And then our wide receivers, man. So Julian Edelman caught 2 of his 6 targets for 8 yards. And N'Keal Harry caught 0 of his 2 targets, obviously, for 0 yards. So not a lot of targets to wide receivers here. 4 for Bird, 6 for Edelman, 2 for Harry. I mean, that's not a lot to the outside, especially when it's not going very well, honestly. So I don't know what to do going forward here. We'll look at the matchup next week. Maybe it'll be a get-right game for New England. But right now, I mean, their offense looks really, really bad a couple weeks in a row. Again, you're getting saved by a couple of things. For Cam, it's really just the rushing work. James White looks like he's definitely going to be playable in PPR. But, man, that is ugly. Another ugly game here. The Washington football team travels to New York to take on the G-Men, and they lose 20-19. They go for 2 at the end and don't get it. And, that one was tough, man. They almost had this game. They could have tied and went to OT. Tried to get it there. But, man, they went for it. I hear you. I hear you, Ron Rivera. It's like this team needs an injection of positive vibes, and that would have felt fantastic. Kyle Allen, not too bad on the day. 31 of 42 for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Where'd you wind up, Kyle Allen? Number 16 quarterback? Not too bad, not too bad. So he's playable. Doing it on the ground? No, nothing on the ground here. Can't imagine you played Kyle Allen. So, yeah, gonna move on. Let's see, on the ground here, J.D. McKissic, 8 carries for 41 yards. Antonio Gibson, 9 carries for 30 yards. So pretty even there in usage. Not a lot going on the ground for these guys, but through the air, J.D. McKissic caught all 6 of his targets for 43 yards. I mean, that's big. That's a big line. He's getting lots of targets. Week in and week out, it's like 6, 7, 8 targets. He was the number 12 running back on the week. He was an RB1 this week on the back of all that receiving work. What can you say about that, man? The guy was an RB1 this week. And Antonio Gibson, yeah, he caught 4 of 5 targets for 25 yards. So you feel good about Gibson's usage overall if you're a Gibson truther, right? So you're saying, all right, he's getting the work, he's getting some passes, he's getting this, he's getting that. You're happy. You know, it's maybe moving in that direction, so you're feeling good about it. Great. But J.D. McKissic is just eating in too much, right? So you had 5 targets for Gibson and 6 for McKissic. You know, you're the Gibson owner. You want 8 targets, right, for Gibson. You want to be greedy and get them all. Hopefully, maybe the balance will shift. We need some big playmaking. Gibson has made some big plays this year, but obviously not enough to demand the share of the work. So, oh well, we'll see going forward. Gibson is playable, but it's hard to have a big upside here with McKissic on the field that much. Outside here, hey, McLaurin at 12 targets, 7 for 74. He was very playable. I told you to play McLaurin. Not a great week, but, you know, hey, that does the job, right? He was a wide receiver 22, and, 12 targets is extremely important. That's what you want to see. Dontrell Inman caught all 5 of his for 45 yards. And, yeah, we're going to leave everybody else alone here. Who got in the end zone here? Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas caught 3 of 4 targets for 42 yards and a touchdown. And, hey, continues to be part of the game plan. He was the number 9 tight end this week and continues to be involved. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not playing him yet, but I'm still keeping an eye on Logan Thomas. All right, let's look at the G-men here. Daniel Jones was really bad. 12 of 19 passing for 112 yards. 1 touchdown and a pick. He did run the ball pretty well, though. He ran the ball 7 times for 74 yards. So, you know, hey, listen, 7.5 points is a really nice baseline for your quarterback. It really helps with the overall points, especially when you throw for 100 yards and a touchdown and a pick. So, Daniel Jones, man, I thought this might be a little bit of a get-right game for him. I didn't want to play him at all, but I was just thinking he might have a good game here, and he didn't. I'm off of, like, basically all Giants right now. Let's see, Devonta Freeman. Yeah, I'm not off of him. Obviously, in the running back, in the scope of things, you need to play Devonta Freeman because he ran the ball 18 more times. Only 61 yards, so you're not happy about that. But you just love to see the work, and the fact is he's the only guy running the ball for the Giants right now. So you're okay working with that. Only 2 targets, caught 1 for -4 yards. You don't want to be negative in yards, but also, that shit happens, man. Devonta Freeman. So, it was a really bad game through the air for the Giants. Darius Slayton did get into the end zone, saved his game, caught 2 of his 4 targets, 41 yards, 1 touchdown, and then did leave the game, kind of came down funny on his foot on that touchdown pass. And we haven't really heard anything here. I think they play on Thursday, though, so I probably would expect him to miss Thursday's game. I don't know if Sterling Shepard will be back or not. But I'd be looking for that because they need someone to throw the ball to. And lately it's been Slayton, and if he's not there, you know, I don't know who it's going to be. Evan Ingram, any other receivers? No, Golden Tate caught his only pass for 11 yards. Yeah, everybody else is just really, really, really bad. And let's look at the tight ends here. Evan Ingram caught 2 of 3 targets, 30 yards. Hayden Smith caught 3 of 3 targets for 15 yards. So everybody was bad, obviously. You saw that. You heard the numbers. 112 yards. So Slayton got into the end zone, saved his week. You know, his season's still rolling along nicely. And, when you get into the end zone, that happens, right? Yeah, what did they say? 11.8 points? Doesn't make sense either. I see 12.1. Oh, he ran the ball for -3. Yeah, 11.8. All right. Yeah, he was barely a wide receiver 3, so he snuck in there. Not what you wanted out of Darius Slayton. I was expecting a better game from him. So, another ugly game here. It was an ugly week. Listen, this is the fact of it. I'm trying to get excited for these games here, man, but holy shit. Oh, the first thing I see is Sterling Shepard was on the field in his helmet at practice Tuesday. Blah, blah, blah. Starts the clock on his 21-day window to be activated from injured reserve. There's a chance he plays Thursday versus the Eagles. I doubt it. All right. Where are we going here? All right, this game was a lot more fun. The Baltimore Ravens went to Philadelphia, took on the Eagles here, and had a stronghold on the game until the fourth quarter. I mean, they were up big, man. They were up, 24-6 after 3, and barely held on, 30-28. Lots of points here too. There was a lot of busts also, quite frankly. It's just how it worked out in this game. You had the highs and the lows. A couple bad injuries again for Philly. Fucking Philly. All the injuries is absolutely absurd. So, all right, let's look at Lamar. Lamar had another, really nice game. This time he did it on the ground, which he really hasn't been doing much. $186 and a touchdown through the air, but 108 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And that's going to do it for you, right? That's going to give you the points that you need. It was like quarterback 6-ish on the week. And, gotta like it. 108 yards on the ground on 9 carries. It just looked fantastic doing it. On the ground here, Ingram battling an injury. I think he got knocked out of the game there. But either way, this is what you expect. This mix that I hate. Gus Edwards ran the ball the most, 14 times for only 26 yards. He did get to the end zone, though. So even with that 1.9 yard per carry, he still got some points because he got into the end zone. Any of these guys involved in the passing game? Not really. Dobbins had 4 targets. So Dobbins had 9 carries, 28 yards, also didn't look good on the ground. And 2 of 4 targets, caught 2 balls for 1 yard. Well, fucking solid. Now, Philly's got a tough front 7. That's just the truth. They were playing pretty well, and obviously they were holding down Baltimore's backfield here. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, caught 4 of his 6 targets for 57 yards. Not a bad game. He didn't have the deep passes here. Again, I was looking for a little bit more through the air for these guys in this game. Didn't really happen, though. Nobody else was super involved. Devin Duvernay had 3 targets, caught them all for 31. Willie Snead caught 1 of his 2 targets for 32, but that's none of that's involved, right? Mark Andrews, brutally bad day for Mark Andrews owners. Caught 2 of 4 targets for 21 yards. And you got to watch Nick Boyle score a touchdown. Caught all 3 of his targets for 33 yards and a touchdown. So, yeah, not only did Mark Andrews not do shit, you got to watch the other tight end on the team take yo motherfucking points. Yep. You took our points. But, all right. So, Carson Wentz and the Eagles. Again, I mentioned Carson Wentz had a really nice game. Wasn't expecting it. Didn't really have him in my streaming list. Lacking options, lacking weapons. Playing against, Baltimore has been killing quarterbacks. But, 21 of 40, but 213 yards, 2 touchdowns. Added 49 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So that's really where, his game got made was there. It was a good game. And then you add in the work on the ground, all of a sudden, it's a very good game. You're a top 5 quarterback on the week. So, hey, Carson Wentz, welcome to the top 5. Good week for you. Now, Miles Sanders, shitty news here. We don't have news on his injury here. I think it was a knee injury, and they are playing on Thursday. So, at the end of the day, expect him to miss this week on Thursday in a really juicy matchup against the Giants. And that sucks. Not that the Giants have been that bad against the run, but still, you expect Sanders to be uber involved in that game, and now he's not. So Boston Scott will probably be it. But let's talk about this game here. Miles Sanders did run 9 times for 118 yards. 74-yard run that ended with a fumble on like the 3 or 4 yard line, threw it into the end zone, and his own guy jumped on it and scored. So they got the touchdown. Who was that? Jason Kroom, maybe? No, it's not a touchdown for anybody. It's just whoever fell on it. So I don't even know who fell on it, but they got a touchdown. So that's how that goes. But Miles Sanders had a decent game. The injury is super bad news, though. You're not happy about that. He also wasn't involved in the passing game. 2 targets, caught 1 for -6 yards right at the beginning of the game, and then wasn't really involved. So fuck all that, frankly. Boston Scott did see 4 targets, caught 2 for 5 yards. And listen, Boston Scott is absolutely going to be playable on Thursday against the Giants. He will be at or near the top of the waiver wire list for this week, depending on who else is hurt and how long they're hurt for. If Mixon is hurt for more than a week or two, Gio Bernard jumps up there. If Miles Sanders is going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks, Boston Scott is probably at the top, even though he didn't play well at the beginning of the year when they were without Sanders. So I don't know, man, but running back is so bad right now that you're going to wind up playing Boston Scott. I mean, I know I am if I can get him. So I'm a Miles Sanders owner in a couple of places, and I'm going to have to do it. So, all right, on the outside here, Travis Fulgham, another big game, 10 targets, caught 6 for 75 yards and a touchdown. Another really big game for Fulgham. Continues to take advantage of D-Jax and Alshon Jeffrey being out, and is in your lineup right now as a flex, and with better upside, obviously, but should be in your lineup as a flex. John Hightower caught 1 of his 4 targets for 50 yards. That's why he shows up. Greg Ward, 2 of 3 for 19. So a bunch of crapola here. And then we had some tight end work. Zach Ertz caught 4 of his 10 targets for 33 yards and gets injured. And he's going to be out probably a few weeks, it looks like. So Ertz, going to be gone for a few weeks. We already have Dallas Goedert out. So Richard Rodgers here might be a big pickup for the week. He caught 3 of 3 targets for 31 yards. And with, we know what happens to tight ends here. There's already, 10 targets for Ertz in this game. And Richard Rodgers could be a 7-8 target guy for the next couple weeks. So keep an eye on that. We'll talk about it as we get more news on the injuries. But crazy game there. Eagles continue to get fucking injured and just can't help themselves, unfortunately. But I can't believe they almost came back and won that game. So, all right. Let's finish up another game in Pennsylvania here. We had the Cleveland Browns at 4-1, traveling to take on the 4-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, trying to prove that they're for real, trying to prove they can be in the division. And they proved they can get their ass fucking handed to them. 38-7 by the Steelers. And they looked bad. Mayfield looked bad. I know he might have been hurt with the ribs, yada yada. He took some shots, but get rid of the ball, dude. Get rid of the ball. Watch in case Keenum fell. He was getting rid of the ball a lot faster and look better. Just look better, to be quite honest with you. So, is what it is. Baker threw for $119, a touchdown and 2 picks before he got pulled from the game. Can't imagine you played Baker anyway. Hope you didn't. You definitely played Kareem Hunt. Did not get what you wanted at all. 13 carries, 40 yards. Caught 2 balls. Targeted 3 times for 17 yards. Wanted to see more targets for Hunt, and you didn't get that either. Obviously, no trips to the end zone here. So, listen, you're hoping for some big old smash games for Hunt while Chubb was out, and it hasn't happened so far. Tough matchup for sure, but hey, you were still hoping for more. D'Ernest Johnson, we already talked about it. He was obviously going to be way behind Kareem Hunt for touches. It was not going to be a 1A and a 1B by any means, and it wasn't. So stop playing D'Ernest Johnson. If you spent a lot of fab, I apologize, but don't put him in your lineup. Let's look at the wide receivers and their targets. Jarvis Landry targeted 5 times, caught 3 for 40. OBJ targeted 4 times, caught 2 for 25. Rashard Higgins caught 1 of his 2 targets for a 13-yard touchdown, so he vultured the touchdown, basically stealing any hope of viability for any of the other players here, any other wide receivers, Landry and Beckham. They got that touchdown, and they're like, all right, well, at least you didn't, fucking kill me this week. But no, they both killed you. Landry 7 points, Beckham 4.5. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's brutal. It's bad. And then tight ends got targeted here. Austin Hooper got 5 of 6 for 52. Second week in a row, he's been more involved in those 10 points. Would be a savior for a lot of people at tight end who aren't getting that many. He was the tight end 12 on the week, it looks like. So, good work, man. Yeah. And, all right, let's go over to Pittsburgh here. Last team before we close up shop. How much time we got? We have as much time as we motherfucking want. No, really though. All right, so Big Ben, not a great game. Didn't have to do too much in this game. They were ahead quick. They were running the ball in. $162 and a touchdown for Big Ben. Unfortunately, if you streamed him, you just didn't get what you wanted. But it looked like it was going to be decent. They scored enough points. They should have to throw the ball. James Conner ran the ball 20 times for 101 yards and a touchdown. Caught his only target for 1 yard. Didn't really help you out there. But 100 yards and a touchdown you're happy with. 20 carries you're pretty happy with. Benny Snell got involved a little bit. 6 carries, 17 yards. Got that late touchdown. So Benny Snell, he's not playable. He only got that work because it was out of hand. Chase Claypool ran another ball in, and we'll start with him because he did run a touchdown in. He ran the ball twice, including that one touchdown run. He also caught all 4 of his targets for 74 yards. And dude's the real deal. I know. I hear you. Deontay Johnson was out, and when he comes back, is it going to be the same thing? I don't know. All I know is when he gets the ball, he makes shit happen, right? And Mike Tomlin is probably one of the smartest coaches in the league. So I just see him getting Claypool involved because he's probably their best playmaker. So, yeah, I'm going to see that happening. James Washington had a really nice game. 7 times he was targeted, caught 4 of them, 68 yards, and the lone touchdown through the air. So, it was a James Washington, kind of game in that sense. Was the number 16 wide receiver on the week. Claypool was 13. You know who wasn't anywhere near 16 or 13? Juju Smith-Schuster. 2 catches on 4 targets, 6 yards. And it's like, listen, I have one league where I played OBJ and Juju on the same fucking team. Right? For like 7 combined points. Oh my God. So bad. So bad. I don't know what's going on with Juju. I don't know what's happening, but either he's not open or the other guys are just more open. I really just don't know. But he is not the guy to play. You can't have him in your lineup next week. I don't know how you can. I don't know what unless you just want to keep beating that drum that this is the get right week. This is the get right week. I don't know. I said that this week, and it wasn't. Ebron not involved. 2 catches on 4 targets for 9 yards. So a little bit ugly here. The moral of the story is play Chase fucking Claypool, right, going forward. I know 4 targets isn't the best, but they're going to get him more involved in the game here. And we'll see what happens when Deontay Johnson comes back. But until then, until further notice, you're going to have Chase Claypool in your lineup. And that's going to do it for this episode of The GOAT Fantasy Football Podcast. Make sure you're getting with The GOAT to get your information here. You want to get your lineups right. You want to have an idea who to start and sit. And make sure you check in with us. You know the deal. Near the end of the week, Thursday and Friday, you'll get your start and sit shows and get ready to get your lineup right. But right now, we're just having fun, talking shit about the games, and giving you all the reactions. So this episode will be up, and we're going to do the second half of the reaction here very shortly. Also have that up today, and so you'll get both reaction shows. We'll see what happens on Wild Card Wednesday, and we'll go from there. So thanks for joining us. If you are with us, we appreciate it. If you're listening to us anywhere out there in podcast land, in audio land, we appreciate it. Try to subscribe to the channel and share it around. If you're watching on YouTube, do the same thing. Subscribe, hit the bell. Share and like the videos. We appreciate any support we get. We just do this for fun, man. I'm just trying to get better at fantasy football always, man. Just want to talk fantasy football, and now that I am, mostly stuck around the house, and I'll just talk to you about fantasy football. There we go. That'll have to do it, everybody. All right, talk to you soon, guys. Have a good one. See you next time.